Go.
This meeting of the Margate Planning Board is called to order. Please stand for the flag salute. Attention salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Tom Collins, Clem Wozleski, Mike Richmond, Jim Galantino, Margaret Gubernalty, Mike Cristaldi, Craig Palmisano, Despina Hess, Remy Pelosi, Joe DiGirolamo, Rich Patterson.
Here. This meeting is being held in accordance with due public notice thereof and pursuant to the New Jersey State Sunshine Law. Notice of this meeting was advertised in the press, and a copy of same has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building. All applicants are hereby advised that should you receive board approval, you must come forward and sign a form which informs you regarding the timing of receiving building permits and mercantile licenses. At the end of your case tonight, please see the board administrator to sign the two information sheets. I'd like to hear a motion to approve the minutes of the October 26, 2017 meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Mike? Joe? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. I'd like to hear a motion for approval of decisions and resolutions number 45, 2017, Gerald Green, number 46, 2017, Suzanne Stein, number 47, 2017, Evans Grove, New Jersey, LLC, and number 48, 2017, Cedar Townhomes. Motion? Craig? Mike? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. The first case we're here tonight is Doreen Ward, 8305 Atlantic Avenue, Block 111.01, Lot 3, in the S25 district, to grant a C variance for front yard setbacks on Jasper Avenue and possibly others.
Looks like Mr. Cristaldi is recusing himself.
Mr. Cristaldi is recusing himself.
You have 5. Still a quorum.
Taxes and water are current, and proof of advertising and notifying is satisfied. Mr. McLarnon, please be sworn in.
Mr. McLaren, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thanks.
Thank you, Board Chairman, Board members. Before you is my report in regard to Doreen Wald at 8305 Atlantic Avenue. They're seeking one variance for a front yard setback for the building, Jasper Avenue, whereas 10.9 feet is the prevailing setback and 5 feet is the minimum, and 6.4 feet exists as proposed. They're basically adding an addition on top of a non-compliant setback. It appears that the survey is from 2005, and I think the testimony ought to be provided that the physical changes from today compared to 2005 are similar or different. The only thing I could tell was there was a fence there now. And there aren't any street trees on the site. There's an existing fence in the front yard, which is not shown on the survey. A grass planting strip is not proposed, however, tree pits are proposed. I would recommend that the grass planting strip be installed with the 4 street trees instead of the tree pits. That concludes my report for this application.
Is the applicant here?
Rich, for the record.
I can keep going.
For the record, Remy
No, I'm
Pelosi
done,
is
yeah.
here.
And Remy, we didn't take any testimony, but just sit out this vote and start the next one. You're good.
I'm sorry, your report was like 6 pages long. I didn't read it fast.
Yeah, well,
Thank you. Thank you, members of the board. My name is Chris Dale, and I represent Doreen Wald, who is here, right in the front row. The application before you tonight is relatively straightforward. Doreen seeks to add an 829 square foot building addition along the side street frontage of the house, which lines up with the house, requiring, I might have that wrong, Roger, requiring a C variance for a front yard setback to meet the existing front yard setback on that side. What the variance gives her the ability to do is simply have a traditional bedroom and bath upstairs with regular ceiling height, rather than work within the eaves of that house, because right now it's a rancher or Cape Cod style. That's the only variance that's associated with the application, and certainly, I think we can look at the benefits of keeping that low-profile house in the corner of Atlantic Avenue and allowing the addition, as opposed to, alternatives that would possibly disrupt the neighborhood, or views, or light and air greater than that. Pete can kind of walk you through the plan. I don't intend to burden the record tonight with too much testimony.
We've been trying for the past year or so to eliminate as much of the concrete along the sidewalks as possible, and would you accept putting the grass strips and trees in as a condition?
I'd have to talk to Ms. Wald about that. She did not take them out. She didn't replace.
Oh, I know she
concrete.
didn't, but we're,
And it's a fair stretch of sidewalk being on a corner. I think it's both frontages don't have the grass. I have to ask her. And I'll do that while Pete's talking.
okay.
And Mr. Weiss, I just have to swear you in. Can you state your name and business address for the record?
Peter Weiss?
We know your address. So do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
If you've been by the site, you can see that it's a rather modest 1.5-story residence on a fairly large lot. I think overall the whole building's probably 2,000 square feet or so. The second floor is built into the roof. Most of the ceilings are sloped, so it's a very low kind of ceiling condition throughout most of the second floor, which means the rooms aren't really that usable. So what we'd like to do is expand out over what's actually the bedroom, or the bathroom on the first floor, raise the ceiling height in that area, and get a usable bedroom and bathroom on that side. The addition is, I could think a total about 200 square feet or less than that. And that's really about it. The overall height of the building is well below what's permitted nowadays. And
Peter, the height lines up with the existing roof line?
the addition would be in line with the existing building. The roof over the addition is actually higher than the existing roof by a couple of feet.
22 square feet plus or minus total?
The height, yes.
Yeah. There's no further encroachment into the setback other than the vertical projection into the front yard?
Correct.
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Wald doesn't know what it's gonna cost to do both frontages with grass, sprinklers, and trees.
Well, she knows she's doing trees. The trees were proposed?
Yes.
Then
Trees are
you're
proposed.
doing, so it's the grass.
Okay, grass and sprinklers, I just don't know what it costs. So I can't commit, she can't commit to say yes. Right now, she doesn't have a budget that allows her just to say yes unconditionally. As you can see, it's a relatively modest proposal altogether. I'm not saying that it's not justified, I'm not saying it's not right, or that it shouldn't be done. I'm just saying I don't know how much it costs, and it's a lot of frontage. It's 90 by 40, I think.
That was my next. Ventnor Avenue, Atlantic Avenue,
What about,
it's only 40 feet.
right, and the other runs 90.
Well, what about Ventnor, Atlantic Avenue?
40-foot side? Just grass and 2 trees are proposed?
Well, 4 trees,
4 trees are proposed, on 2 and 2?
right.
Okay.
And grass along Atlantic Avenue.
Short run?
That way you have a continuous grass strip along Atlantic Avenue. I'd also like to point out that building coverage is remaining the same.
I guess if I have to.
You have to.
Nothing further, thank you.
Anyone here from the public that have any comments, questions? Board have any comments or questions or anything further? Would you read a motion, please?
Do we open to the public?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we just need a motion for C variance relief for a front yard setback along Jasper Avenue to the building of 6.4 feet, where 10.9 feet is the prevailing setback, with the condition that the applicant will plant a grass strip along Atlantic Avenue. And all other conditions, set forth. Chris, are you okay with everything else in Roger's report? In all other conditions set forth in Roger's report, Mr. McLaren's report dated November 29, 2017, unless they were modified tonight on the record. We need that
Your
motion.
motion? Craig?
I'll second the motion.
Joe?
Clem Wasleski?
Well, I think this is so much nicer than having it tore down and another big monster foisted upon us. I'm all in favor of it.
Rich Patterson?
I see no detriment to the neighborhood or to the neighbors or anybody's light or air. I vote in favor of it.
Mike Cristaldi?
He refused himself.
Okay. Craig Palmisano?
Yes, I agree with the other board members. There's nobody's light or air or views that are blocked by anything, and I approve the project.
Despina Hess?
I'm also going to vote in favor of the application. I believe that the hardship has been established. We have an irregular shaped lot, and I believe the elements required to fulfill a C variance have also been met. Mr. Balanson said it best. Essentially, we have a corner lot here, and it's nice to retain the original home because we're going to have less of an impact on light, air, and space. And just one thing to consider as well as the existing setback is not changing, so there's no effect on the street average, which is something we always consider. So I vote in favor.
Joe DiGirolamo?
Yes, I vote along with the other board members. There's really no impact on the neighborhood, and we were able to keep without having another larger home being put in that area. It makes sense. I vote yes.
Application passes 5-0.
Thank you all very much.
Chris?
Next case is Jeffrey Marshall, 110 South Douglas Avenue, Block 5.01, Lot 14, in the S30 District to grant C variances for building height, HVAC setbacks, and possibly others. Taxes and water are current, and proof of advertising and notifying is satisfied. Mr. McLaren?
If I may,
Yes.
Opening remark.
my name is Ian Syracuse of the firm Hankin, Sandman, Palladino, and Weintraub. I represent the Moschel family. We're asking that the matter be carried over till December 14th.
Okay. If anyone's here for that case, that matter will be carried over for 2 weeks till December 14th.
And the applicant will renotice, so
Will
you don't
renotice.
need an announcement tonight. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, you don't have much time to renotice. All right. What?
What are we doing? I can address Saganos or Benner Avenue while we're here as well, if you'd like.
What? What did he say?
Wants to address Sagano before I read the report, I guess.
Rich,
Yeah.
that's last, I'm sorry, I got here.
Saganos is not, oh no,
Now it's
Saganos is not
Margate
next.
Burger.
It's last, right?
Right, it's last. As long as he knows it.
Yeah, oh, yeah, he does.
Next case is Margate Burger LLC, 7903 Ventnor Avenue, Block 207.03, Lot 4, in the C1 District to grant an amended site plan and a C variance, parking, and possibly others. Taxes and water are current, and proof of advertising and notifying is satisfied. Mr. McLarnon?
Thank you, Board Chairman and Board members. My report is originally dated May 22nd, 2017, updated October 23rd, 2017. In regard to Margate Burger LLC, 7903 Ventnor Avenue. The applicant is seeking relief from the ordinances of the City of Margate in order to construct an addition to the existing Margate Burger takeout food truck, requiring a variance for a number of parking spaces, which is a deficit. The applicant has previously received variances and site plan approval in January 2013, and again for site plan in January 2014 for its current configuration. The applicant is proposing to add on into the driveway access from Frontenac Avenue and closing the main access off of Frontenac Avenue and moving it to the former outdoor tank drive through aisle. The proposed 829 square foot addition will provide an area for 52 seats. Also proposed is 100 square foot outdoor seating in addition to the indoor seating. My zoning chart is attached on page 1 and 2, as are the documents I reviewed to provide the analysis. Section 3 is the variance is required, parking variance for commercial, whereas 1 space per 5 seats is required, or 10 spaces for 10 spaces, and whereas 9 spaces are provided, 1 being an ADA space. A variance for possibly 2 spaces exists if ADA is excluded from the account. Parking variance for residential, whereas two bedroom require 1 off-street parking space and none are provided. Waivers requested. You should look at the engineer's report and check the checklist. Comments are as follows for off-street parking, highlighted in yellow or shaded gray, perhaps in the report. Parking for residential conversions in all buildings additions, however, shall be provided on-site in the CBD zones. Going down to section B, off-street loading spaces shall be required at the discretion of the board with location and dimensions to be determined by the board. I think the applicant shall provide testimony where the loading spaces will be located. Prior to this application, or prior to this submission and revision, they redirected the traffic through the neighborhood, which, in my opinion, a traffic impact statement was mentioned in the engineer's report, and I agree with that. A request to waive this requirement should be made, provided that they go with the present configuration of keeping the traffic, maintaining the traffic on the site and not through the residential neighborhood. Recommendations are as follows. The variances being sought shall require testimony from the applicant to satisfy C1 and C2 criteria where appropriate. If the board finds the testimony provided provides evidence that supports the variances, then I would recommend the below recommendations, if not already done, be a condition of approval, including a lighting plan, install street trees along Ventnor Avenue. Plus, Atlantic County would need to review this as a site plan application. That concludes my report for this application.
Thank you, Mr. McLaren and members of the board. My name is Chris Balanson. I represent Margate Burger LLC with respect to its application this evening for preliminary and final amended site plan approval with what now is a variance for a single car. I think, Roger, you said 1 car variance?
Yes.
Before
One for commercial, one for residential.
Wait 1 second. It says there's an additional 52 seats?
the seat count should be 45. We were going to try and fit it
Total or in the addition?
45 total new seats because we were going to try and fit it in with the 9 parking spaces.
Okay.
So the seating can be limited to 45. Okay, I didn't. The intent was not to create that additional space. We were going to stick with the deficiency for the apartment. I met with today a representative of the neighbors who have been, to say the least, active participants in the process since the very beginning, and with good suggestions all the way through. Obviously, focused on protecting their neighborhood. A suggestion which I have advocated for this property from the very beginning has always been to eliminate the drive-through aspect of this lot from street to street. I personally don't think that is a condition that is safe, especially with a pedestrian-friendly use. I have met resistance from that, and that's why there's still curb cuts on both sides. Meeting with the neighbors,
You mean on the front side, the drive-through?
just on both streets, Mr. Patterson.
What do you mean on the front side of the building, the drive-through is?
Yes.
Right,
Well,
not the one behind the building.
I don't think that's necessarily a good idea either. There's no other commercial site in town unless it's a bank or a gas station that has that. And this site having been a bank and a gas station, that's why it's there. It's bringing cars through a restaurant site in front or behind the building. I just don't, there's no reason for it. And I don't think it's safe, but look, I'm a lawyer and not a traffic expert. Anyway, meeting with the neighbors today, we've had our differences, but we seem to agree that the 4 curb cuts, or even more than 1 curb cut on that site with a residential neighborhood right there is not the best planning. They have asked that we advance a plan that limits the number of curb cuts on site to 1 accessing the parking lot on Franklin Avenue. That would eliminate the drive-through aspect from Frontenac to Franklin. And the other curb cut on Frontenac was proposed to be closed anyway with the addition. What that allows us to do,
Take the mic, Chris.
I will. I'm gonna put that there, so, it's, obviously, the application has been now carried forward since June for a variety of reasons. And I wanted to get it here before the board, before February, so nobody accused me of trying to jam it through in the middle of winter.
Could you name your cronies, please?
And I'll call that A1 site plan, Chris.
That's fine. The idea today, which I would like to amend the plan to include, is the elimination of both curb cuts on Frontenac. Don, do you want to?
No, it's on.
And the elimination of the northerly curb cut on Franklin. What was pointed out to me today and made perfect sense is there currently is a fence that runs along the rear property line, varies from 6 feet to 4 feet. But when you exit on Franklin, you can't see traffic which is coming toward Ventnor Avenue. There's no sight triangle visibility. What's proposed is to have this appear and function more like a traditional commercial site, where you have your commercial building, standalone, and you have a parking lot. You have a curb cut wide enough to accommodate parking on the right, parking on the left. A single curb cut allows an additional parking space up against the handicap space would slide over. You'd add another parking space, there would be no parking variance. It would then be a by right site plan. With a functioning parking lot, the trash enclosure would be relocated out of sight of the side streets and Ventnor Avenue to the rear of the building behind a fence, and the parking would conform. And that would allow for just a better functioning site without cars traveling through the site, whether in front of the building or behind the building. And it's a relatively minor amendment to the plan. It simply eliminates the drive-through back here, which is there simply because it's there. And you try and fit that in with what you're proposed to do. Taking it out makes it more like a normal commercial piece of property. I mean, and for future use, in the event this is not always the burger truck, it would allow the site to be developed consistent with other sites on Ventnor Avenue, particularly the Sagano site next door. You could then do parking at grade underneath, stores, residential above, because we know in the CBD zone you have the 5-foot rear yard setback and no side yards and no front yard. The configuration now is a 14-foot rear yard setback, which just unnecessarily eliminates that much square footage on the site from being developed consistent with the ordinance.
Isn't that fence, the 4-foot and 6-foot fence, that's on the applicant's site, not the neighbor's site, correct?
Accurate.
And there's a foot on the other side of that fence that's the applicant's property?
That has been mentioned. I don't know what those dimensions are. If you tell me that's fine.
Well, it's 13 feet to the fence, and it says you have 14 feet to the property line, so that is
Right.
true.
And a rear yard setback in that zone is 5 feet.
I understand, but the fence can be modified to allow a site triangle.
It's actually a side yard.
It could.
I'm saying it's not a neighbor's job, it's
I'm not
actually
suggesting
on
I'm
your...
not suggesting that it is.
No, 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 I'm saying it's, the applicant could, so it's something the applicant could fix, that site triangle.
You still have a house here. I mean, you still have a house here and you still have improvements, which.
Well, I drove out of the driveway today, I didn't have a problem
parking.
seeing.
I'm not
Right.
gonna take issue with that. I'm just saying, right now, the way it's configured, you can't see up the street. Anyway, that's a proposal we would like the board to allow us to amend this evening in advance. It eliminates the variance and it gives us a by right site plan to allow for the addition, which is as proposed on the plan submitted, but the elevations are changed to better meet the architecture of the building that we were stuck with from the bank. What you see is an awning-style roof, which with a traditional food truck is what you have. When food truck pulls up, opens up, puts their awning out, and open for business. This is an addition to the building that we hope makes it look more like the food truck, which was the original intent. With glass panels, seating inside and outside. I've talked enough. John can kind of touch upon this.
No, I have another question for you. When you
Okay.
say they want this, saying neighbors want this,
Yeah.
before the neighbors come and talk, could you explain why so we can kind of get this out of the way, why the neighbors think it's more beneficial to them to have the cars go through the neighborhood rather than not going through the neighborhood? Well,
My conversation with the neighbors is they find that with the curb cuts on both streets, and I'm not going to speak for them, they can speak, that.
no, but I want to know what your
Car-
conversation was,
car-
just to get an idea before they speak.
Cars tend to cut through the site to get to the gas station without using without using the restaurant. That you've got two vehicle movements across the sidewalk. You're looking at me like I'm not.
No, I don't know why somebody would turn down Frontenac to go to the gas station and cut behind that building when they can very easily.
We're in Margate, and people in summertime drive, however that.
Well, that just doesn't make sense, so, okay,
I'm just repeating. You asked me to
right,
tell you what was.
okay.
You take two vehicles off of crossing the sidewalk, which is always a goal of good traffic. Especially a pedestrian-friendly sidewalk where you have a use that encourages people to walk up. And you centralize the parking to one spot so everybody knows where it is, rather than four curb cuts and people are trying to figure out what the heck's going on. And that's always been a problem with the site. Aside from the fact we pick up 3, if not 4 parking spaces on the street.
Well, the other big problem is also people going down the wrong side of the street to get in and cutting through the gas station to get in there too,
I
which
think
is,
you'll hear the neighbors say that's not a substantial problem, or not a problem that.
okay,
that
well, I'd like to
created
hear
any
that,
problems.
okay.
Like I said, I can't speak for them, they can address those questions when they.
That's
come up.
fine, okay.
We've had our battles up to 2 weeks ago, whether it was online or face-to-face. Now, we seem to have a really good meeting today, and everybody seems to be happy with this proposal, and I'm happy to bring it forward,
Are they happy with you?
as of today.
Okay.
Mr. Barnhart.
Mr. Barnhart, just your name and business address for the record, and I'll swear you in.
John Barnhart, office address 400 North Dover Avenue, Atlantic City, New Jersey.
And you swear affirm the testimony we're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thanks.
John, would you be kind enough to kind of walk the board through the project as
Sure.
proposed and as modified, and what you think the benefits are to the modified plan as I just talked about?
And he's qualified as an expert before this board.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The plan that I'm speaking from first is the plan that was part of the application package. Everybody's very familiar with the food truck site, I'm sure. But just to orient you quickly, the gray shaded area is the existing building structure as it sits today. The yellow shaded area that you see on this plan is the proposed expansion area that you see in the renderings here. As you know, this project obtained a site plan approval a number of years back, and it contained, as part of that, it contained a driveway in the front of the building, and then the driveway in the rear of the building remained as well. Time proved that was not the best scenario. So I'm sure you saw that area was actually closed off to make a safer condition in the front of the building, and we are now here to, we think, take the site to a position that will be a more successful site. It's meeting the needs of the requests of patrons that have been coming to and from the site. You know, things like there's no cover there's nowhere to even be under cover when I'm ordering my food. There's nowhere to sit. There's no, as it was developed, it was a little bit difficult. So we believe, our client believes that this is a solution that will make the site work very, very well and be a
Is that
safe-
a permanent structure or a summer structure?
As far as its,
It's permanent?
as far as its construction, it's
Yes.
permanent, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So the proposal, as was already pointed out, is to develop an area that has 25 seats on the interior, and there will be a patio area on the exterior that has another 20 seats for a total of 45 seats. The plan as submitted had a parking field that had 9 spaces, that had access from Franklin Avenue, and then it maintained the cross-block driveway from Frontenac Avenue to Franklin Avenue, and which was the subject of a lot of the discussion that Chris just had. As submitted, this plan, you can see from Mr. Rubin's report, this plan, Mr. Rubin, how about that? Mr. McLaren's report, talk about being mentally just trained like a monkey, right? Mr. McLaren's report identified a total, a parking requirement and our parking deficiency. With our 45 seats that we are proposing, the requirement would be 9 spaces. And with the 1 residential unit that we have, the total requirement on the site is 10 spaces as is proposed.
Can I ask you a question, but while you're on that point?
Sure.
If there's room for 52 spaces, 52 seats, and you say, well, we'll only use 45, what's the, so there's not going to be another table put there?
Chris made the comment that we'll limit. I mean, our plans show 25 and 20. I just talked to Mr. Byer, the architect. He's designed it for 25 interior.
Oh, so
seats.
52 was never,
I'm
No,
not
that's my
sure.
mistake.
I'm not sure.
oh, okay.
No,
Okay.
the intent was to 45 seats because we have 9 spaces.
It sounds like, well, we're not going to put this table where it could go, so, okay.
The
That
idea was,
answers,
we have 9 spaces, that gives us 45 seats.
that answers that question. Thank you.
So, as I mentioned, we have 9 spaces in the lot. Mr. McLaren's report points out a deduction of the handicap space, but, I mean, I think by land use law, I think you're legally allowed to count that. So it would, we do have 9 legal spaces as
I
proposed.
think the law against discrimination requires you to count that handicap space as a parking space.
So we are deficient by 1 parking space as proposed. Mr. Valentin, as he indicated to you, had a number of conversations and face-to-face meetings, and the residents in the area would like the rear drive-through from Frontenac to Franklin Avenue eliminated. So we looked at that today, and it does a couple things that actually do help the site, we think, work well and be a safer condition. Number one, when you do that, you have a much larger area within your parking field for maneuverability, because that drive aisle is then much wider. Number two, cross-block connections within a site like that, they tend to be used for things they shouldn't be used for. They tend to be cut-throughs, even if it's just for pedestrians or bike riders or things like that. They tend to be utilized as cut-throughs, and they can cause potential safety concerns. And number three, and we looked at this actually later this evening. I didn't have an opportunity to make a modification to the plan. We were actually, with this plan of closing this, we're actually able to pick up another parking space. So, and Chris alluded to it, but what our proposal would be to take the trash enclosure and put it against the back of the building right here. It would still be fenced, and it would have access from the side. Slide this ADA configuration, because you're required to have this striped out space, against the building, and we can pick up 1 more parking space. So we actually would go from a 9 parking space parking area to 10 spaces in that area, which would actually make the site compliant with regard to parking. Chris mentioned there were 2 curb cuts over here. I think at one point there were. Well, there's 2 here now. I think at one point there may even be 1 out here. I don't know, but this is a very small site. It has a lot of curb cuts. If we were to take this property and start from a clean slate, the reality is you're going to put the building in one corner, whether it ends up being on Frontenac or Franklin Avenue. That's how you're going to lay out the commercial space. And if you're going to have on-site parking, the rest of that site is going to be parking, and you're going to access it either from Frontenac or Franklin, whatever the case may be with the final layout of the building. Even a new site would end up having a small parking field like that with 1 driveway in and out off the side street. It's a one-way pair condition with Frontenac and Franklin Avenue. It will, theoretically send some cars through the residential area. They may want to come back on Franklin Avenue.
It'll send all cars through the resident, not some cars.
Well, if a car doesn't choose to use the lot, he parks on the street, then he's just gonna walk in, is what I mean by that.
Okay.
Yeah, but you have one-way pairs. I mean, that is what happens. When I try to go to Starbucks in Margate, I end up going down a one-way street, coming around the other way, looking for a spot to park. It's the nature of having one-way pairs, coming off of your Ventnor Avenue arteries. You have that condition, not just here, it's in other locations. And I think you have to keep in mind, it's 10 parking spaces. It's not a big parking lot. If we were proposing a use that had a 100-space parking lot, and we were forcing all of the patrons to come around to get in and out of that lot, that's an impact. But it's just 10 spaces, actually, 9 plus the one for the residential. It's very, very minor in nature. So I think, it took some time to get to a resolution that the neighbors were comfortable with, that we think still works. But eliminating all the curb cuts, having just a basic standard parking lot with 10 spaces in it that has ingress and egress from one driveway, cleaning up all the cross conflicts between pedestrians and motorists and what have you, we think really does make the most sense. And with this minor tweak, we turn the parking lot into a situation where the parking meets the ordinance requirements, and this application then becomes an application that has no variance request associated with
And
it.
John,
So
the site is otherwise designed in accordance with the ordinance to meet the requirements of site plan approval.
that's correct.
Amended site plan approval. One of the other, to the extent there is concern about the traffic that would come around the block, one of the benefits of doing what we're doing on this particular site is that it's not a straight cut through from Winchester Avenue.
Correct.
Cars tend not to drive to Ventnor Avenue from Franklin because it's not a straight run, you've got to go through the horseshoe. So that limits parking vehicles, I guess, in that neighborhood to a certain extent, if you think that additional cars are going to be generated because of this configuration.
Chris, did you ever consider a curb cut on Ventnor Avenue and get rid of all these problems? Or is that a reason that couldn't happen, or?
It's a county application, and the thought process was, and John can correct me when I'm wrong, the thought process was the way traffic backs up now at those two lights, that one car that wants to get in off of Ventnor Avenue in the summertime is going to create just a huge problem. It's just a huge delay.
Yeah, the issue,
I just wanted to know if it was addressed. That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that.
Before Dr. Pasteur bought the site, he talked to Chief Wolfson about that, and that was discouraged. And it's also something the city doesn't control. It's a county road, so we have to go to the county.
Okay, thank you.
just to further that, it's the blocks are small, they're only 125 feet, so your queuing in the lanes on Ventnor Avenue becomes so tight with a driveway there. That's really all I have.
That's it. That's what I got. You'll see the elevation, we will agree as a condition of the approval, if that's the elevation that gets built, that's what it looks like, although that's not submitted with the package. That was something that the Pasteurs came up with afterwards, and I think it really makes a huge difference.
This looks like the forest, that looks.
It looks a lot better.
Chris, we call it A2, A3 color renderings.
That's great.
Color rendering number 1, color rendering number 2.
Mr. Patterson, I don't have any additional witnesses.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Talk into the mic. Turn your mic on.
There may be some building code problems with these elevations relative to floodproofing the walls. The current flood regulations, I think, might go up 2 or 3 feet above.
So you won't have glass panel floor to ceiling?
Well, there may be some way to do waterproof, I mean, glass is waterproof, won't go through it, but will it stand up to the hydraulic pressure, the horizontal load
I
created?
don't think that's part of this application.
But we will, if.
Well, they're offering this as what we will see in the finished product. If they can't provide it,
That's a good point. I believe, as you said, there will be some floodproofing required from grade, which would make the possibility of floor-to-ceiling panels probably not likely. As long as we understand that going forward, there will have to be at-grade floodproofing. The 2-foot block, my architect tells me, is just hidden by the landscaping.
well,
I
that picture I'm looking at, if there's
hear-
block low,
I
it
hear
would
you
have
loud,
to
I hear you loud and clear.
considerably higher.
But there will be floodproofing as is required without having to elevate the building.
Remy, do you have something?
Just a real quick one before we discuss. I understand you said it was a permanent structure. Is that a flat roof stucco, or what's the material?
You have to be sworn. You have to be sworn.
Sorry.
Just state your name and business address for the record, and I'll swear you.
Bill Fire, architect, Little Lake Harbor.
And
So
you,
you're an architect licensed in New Jersey?
Yes, sir,
and you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You speak into the mic, please.
Yeah, the roof is pitched. It's a shallow pitch because we didn't want to encroach too much on the existing food truck. And
Tilt the mic down towards your mouth. There you go.
and the roof is a standing seam metal roof, multicolored to represent an awning. And the walls on Ventnor Avenue, we were hoping to have some of the glass that would be like doors that open up, so it would totally visual. But when even in closed position, it'd be totally transparent. And I think a big plus is that we providing a handicapped multi-sex bathroom inside for the clients. And okay.
I think they need.
If you're adding that space by moving the trash, do you have a variance request? Okay,
No variance. It eliminates variance.
right, all right, just making sure.
We're very happy with that.
Yes, okay. Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
Anything else from the board? Joe?
Yeah, I'm just curious, it may not be part of what we're looking at here, but I think it's an important aspect. Is there gonna be a bike rack, rather than have bikes strewn all over the parking lot? Will there be a bike rack in place?
There actually is a bike rack there now.
Okay, so I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Thanks.
Proposing any new signs?
We are not proposing a new sign at this juncture. You'll see that one of the renderings shows a illuminated LED sign, which is not part of the application.
So that's not part of this, the proposed,
I don't
we have an
think-
8-foot
I don't think the-
digital display identification sign, that's removed?
Yes.
Okay,
I don't think they're still not permitted, am I right, Roger?
correct.
Trying to make life easy as I get older.
Thanks. Anything else from the board?
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to open it to public portion, so one at a time. If you have something to say, come up, state your name and address, and you'll be sworn in. So, come on up.
Good evening. I'm Jay Weintraub. I live at 10 North Franklin. My wife and I have been here now for 22 and a half years.
10 North.
10 North Franklin.
You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Proceed.
Go ahead.
Again, we've been in our house for 22 and a half years, and our plans are to retire down here within the next 2 years, and my staff at home is finally in the place that I can do that. When this plan was first proposed, and I had a chance to look at the drawings, I wasn't in favor of it. And for those of you who have been on Facebook or online, you'll know I was pretty strong about my opinions. And most of those opinions were based upon my fellow neighbors and business people in the area as well. But after having a chance to meet with Mr. Balanson and talk about our concerns and our concerns with safety, I believe we have a plan that absolutely makes sense for the neighborhood. Cutting out those drive-throughs will give us an additional 5 parking spaces, I believe, Chris?
John, tell us the.
You know, 4 to 5 spots, which we need. Traffic, we get traffic, especially in the summer. Now it's quieter. Not as many people are here. Where do they come from? Some come up Front Neck. Most of them are going around through the neighborhood looking to park at Starbucks. I've had to chase people from my driveway. And they say, I'm just getting a cup of coffee. I said, so am I. Can we go together? But the point is, we have a problem with that. We're not going to solve this in this room, but 5 spaces does help alleviate some of that problem. Traffic, I can't change. No one can. Will there be carloads of people running to the burger truck? I hope for their sake that happens. Will it be likely? No. So I don't see an impact to the neighborhood that's really going to hurt us with a lot of traffic. But I'm not saying to the detriment of the burger. We go there. They've been great neighbors. Do we see napkins on the street? Yeah, it's the wind. The way they're set up now, it's going to happen. With an interior enclosure, that'll eliminate that problem. We think that's a smart deal. My wife and I are going to have our first child is going to get married in June, and hopefully soon we'll have grandchildren. The house directly next to the burger truck on Franklin Avenue have a 2-year-old. You go out and tell her not run around. With that drive-through right now, that's an accident waiting to happen. I don't think anybody in this room wants to have that on their hands. Would you? I certainly don't. And I don't want to be the neighbor to witness it. So if we can eliminate that back driveway, which is worthless except for cars cutting through to get to Bud's gas station or to just spin around somewhere else, that's a problem. We have a traffic problem that we could solve. They'll tell you that people run through, with cars through the back when they shouldn't be. So if we can eliminate that problem, we've solved the safety issue. We've created parking spaces. All right? Aesthetically, this is a plus. This really enhances our street. It says this is a viable business that looks good. Much better than it is now. Interesting idea. I supported this concept when they came up with it, and whoever did the stucco work was amazing. So if you know who it is, tell them I think they're dynamite. So we solved the safety issue. Traffic is not a problem. They're still going to go around the block. Doesn't matter what we do. It's not going to change. So we have the aesthetics. We have the safety. I'm not concerned about the traffic. It's going to be there anyway, especially in the summer. Okay? And personally, and I speak for other people, I think if we can get this put through, I think everybody's going to be happy with this program. One thing, Mr. Cooperman has the house directly where the turn would be on Front Neck. He's had his fences knocked down, poles knocked down, many, many problems. There has to be something to accommodate him so a car could turn to get into his driveway. I don't know what that is. Maybe there has to be a little bit of a cutback on the curbing. But overall, I think this makes sense for everybody. The burger truck has a chance to fulfill their dream. Who does business without a dream to succeed? They didn't open this to fail. It wasn't a hobby to lose money. It was a business to make money. So I think if you look at this for the safety factor, the aesthetic factor, an enhancement to the street, an enhancement to street parking, I think this is a winner for everybody. And that's what we want. Win-win. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Name and address, please.
My name's Brian Taylor. I own the Gulf Station in Margate, right across the street from where this is going to be.
And do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth,
Right.
nothing but the truth?
Yes. By the, originally, this was a gas station. This was a gas station. This was all open. They didn't just have just this little cut and this one right here. When the burger first opened, he put a chain across here where people couldn't access it from Frontenac Avenue. People were coming in the one-way street the wrong way to get in there. And this is my gas station right here. They were cutting through my lot by the gas pumps and going right across the street, sometimes not even slowing down. So you talk about something not being safe. Because the gas pumps are right here, and people leave like this. People are coming in my driveway just going through like that, or in this street right here. They can make an entrance here. There was one years ago. And they want more seating. The inside of this building has places for seats now. You have like Dino subs and all that. They're not real big, but they have seatings, they have counters. And but I know as soon as they took this chain down, the city made them take it down. We didn't have this trouble with people cutting through the lot or going in the street the wrong way. And I know as soon as they do this, people aren't going around the block. They're going to be cutting through my gas station lot, which isn't safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bud, are there no one-way do not enter signs, two of them?
There's signs.
Are there two of them on your corner there?
Yeah, there's signs where it says no, do not enter. They don't care. They come in the wrong way. Or they cut right through the gas station. Because then the city made them take down the chain, and then it alleviated the problem. And I haven't seen anyone ever cut through that lot to get to the gas station, you know? Thank you.
Ma'am?
Name and address, please.
My name is Amy Seiden. I live on 19.
Pull that down too.
Okay.
There you go.
19 North Frontenac Avenue. I'm right on the corner where the horseshoe comes around.
And do you swear affirm the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do. And I have so many objections, I know I'm not even going to remember to say everything. All due respect to Mr. Weintraub, he's speaking for his opinion, and maybe some neighbors he spoke to, but not any neighbors that I spoke to about eliminate the cut-through and let all the traffic circle around the homes where we live. Not only that, if you have,
Pick up the mic right there.
I'm not good at this.
No, take that.
All right, maybe I could just.
No, there's one right there.
If you, first of all, when the building was built, this food truck, they eliminated parking spots that were required. Now they're adding 48 more seats, and they're saying we have enough parking. Well, 10 spots is not enough, not to mention employees who have to park. But when you try to pull in the parking lot on the side where they're saying in and out, that one side, Franklin Avenue, you're eliminating some of those parking spots because it's too congested. You have parking perpendicular to the building on the side. Like right here, there's a couple parking spots. That's where the driveway is. I don't even know how cars are going to get in and out. And if you have cars going in and out at the same time, also people are walking in this parking lot. Kids are walking up to get ice. Oh, they're doing away with the takeout window, I guess. But the building is too obtrusive for the size of the parking lot. I don't know where, it's like more concrete instead of the percolation. And they're talking about adding the outdoor tables. Where are the outdoor tables going? If these are supposed to be parking spaces, I don't understand. I wish the owners of this place good luck, and I like having a business in the neighborhood. But why can't they take their money and invest to redo the inside of the building so they can have tables and a bathroom? Which I know there's a lot of space there because it used to be a big building. They have a limited menu. They don't need a huge kitchen. I really don't know the use of the space. But this plan is not a good plan. We don't have enough parking as it is. People come around our horseshoe because they're going to Starbucks, they're going to the post office, they're going to Nitwit, they're going to Paper Chase. There's never enough parking. Those are my main things. There's not enough parking. I think there are safety issues with people walking around while all the cars are trying to go in and out. Then also, they all have to get onto Ventnor Avenue. How are they going to get onto Ventnor Avenue? Some people are going to turn left, some are turning right. Cars are coming from both directions. Public buses are going back and forth. I don't know if the chief of police is happy with this whole safety issue and the traffic study based on all this additional seating. So I don't think this solves any problem by having the cars circle around Frontenac Avenue. I would rather see it go behind the back of the building, like you said, and that's not even very wide. That was never used by the bank as a drive-through area. It's a very narrow lane, and even if cars can go through, I mean, you have to have two-way access. The frontal may be a good way to put those front driveways back again, but there's a bus stop on that block. So that's a problem that probably would not. So there's not even a lot of setback here. We lose some percolation. This is a hangout. They have more seating for the kids. I mean, the table's outdoors. There's going to be more kids hanging out. And I look towards the future, what could happen if somebody else operates the business and huge success, more crowds, then maybe they're going to start having liquor there and kids are hanging out and there's liquor and trash and rodents, and it's just, I'm very much against it. As a resident in the neighborhood, I think it's not fair to the homeowners to try to do this.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Name and address, please.
Howard Seiden from Castle Supermarket, 8008 Ventnor Avenue. I really don't have...
Mr. Seiden, do you swear affirm the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. I really have a question on, like, I see what's being done, and, you know, I heard Chris and Jay and Amy, and they all make sense. My question is that when the original plan came through years ago, what variances did you give to allow this, like Amy said? Because I remember there was a party room in there for like 25 little kids or whatever like that. And then they took that away to, I thought, accommodate parking. I mean, if Chris is saying that there is no variance, is there no variance because of this application or the whole application from day one? I don't know. You know, it's just that, you know, you have 45 spaces, 45 people, where you didn't have any before, and it basically affects one space, which is not a variance anymore from what Chris says. So,
I can answer that. Roger wasn't here.
yeah,
The original application, I can answer that question.
yeah. I just don't remember. I'm asking, not accusing.
Rich may remember, Clem. The
A
way-
microphone, please.
Yes, sorry. The way the parking was handled for existing commercial spaces in Margate, after the ordinance was changed, grandfathering existing commercial spaces, was you would get a credit for an existing deficiency. For instance, if the bank required 16 spaces, and we only had 9, that building comes in to the next use, restaurant use,
With 9.
with the grandfather for 16, for the 9 you have plus the deficiency. That's how the
Okay.
walk-up, the party room was never built. That's how the walk-up was originally approved when Mr. Rubin was here, much to.
Well, there was also no outside seating when it was originally approved, no picnic
Exactly
tables,
right.
nothing.
That's
There
true,
was, there was,
too.
there was only the walk-up, and the demand for the walk-up was like 2 or something like that, because
Right.
it's just, it's the walk-up frontage.
Okay.
It's like every 25 feet or something. It's very insignificant.
And they didn't require bathrooms back then?
No, because there was no inside, there's no seating.
'Cause-
And
okay.
that was just a mistake, and it's now taken
Okay.
8 years to rectify that.
Okay. You
That
mentioned
was 8
about
years
Ventnor
ago.
Avenue possibly being an access. You take Ventnor Avenue away, you lose all the spots on Ventnor Avenue. So that would be a huge negative. And I haven't thought this through, so don't hold me to it.
No, you would pick up spots on both streets, Franklin and
Yeah,
Frederick, right?
yeah. I know, yeah, but you would be, what you're saying you're picking up now, you'd be losing if you
Right.
went to Ventnor Avenue.
Mhm.
You know, which I don't think would be great. But, and I haven't talked to Bud about this and all that stuff, but, you know, it's a.
Could you speak into the mic?
Yeah, with the, you know, I'm just trying to think out loud that, and it wouldn't help Amy, it wouldn't help Jay, you know, the traffic's gonna come around one way or the other, but the light is by Nitwit, you know, and there's nothing by Franklin. And did you ever think that the car should go up Franklin and around Frontenac? So then they would be stopping at the light, and then, you know, you wouldn't have.
I asked the chief of police about that. He didn't want them coming in there. He felt they would be stopping, holding up traffic, trying to turn into Franklin.
Okay.
I brought that issue up to reverse the flow, and he said it wouldn't work. And then I've talked to one of the business owners who
Yeah, like I
had
said, I haven't
differences
thought it
too.
through.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Next. We're hearing different opposing views from neighbors, so I'd like to hear from as many neighbors as possible so we get a feeling for the neighborhood. Don't.
Name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Ron Cooperman, 3 North Frontenac.
You swear or affirm the testimony about to give the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes. Unfortunately, I own the home directly next door to the burger joint. Can I give you these 2 pictures, because this way you can hand one back. This is the actual back alleyway.
Joe, let Chris see him.
Yeah,
Picture of the alleyway.
I'll mark those Cooperman
And,
one, two pictures.
And I have a
You
little
can show them,
petition
I'll
here.
take 'em.
I have a petition here that was signed against the entire variance by, there's 19 homes around the horse show.
My objection to the petition coming into.
And so I'd like just to, I made 5 copies.
I object to that going beyond the rail.
No, Joe. You have to appear in person. You can't present somebody else's testimony.
What is
like
it?
this. It's a
Just
petition.
a petition for
Well,
signatures?
Against the variance signed by pretty much everybody around the horse show.
You can say what you want, anyone here can say what they want, but
Okay, all right.
the applicant has the right to ask those people questions, and it's,
Uh,
I object to the answer.
19.
It's not allowed to be brought.
it's not relevant. They had the right to be here.
All right. Well, the reason I had this done was because of, as you know, it's the winter, and 7/8 of this horseshoe is vacational, and they're only here during the summer. So most of the people we spoke to did not want to have any additional work done on the premises. That's why when I showed them the preliminary plans, they were vehemently against it.
So those plans have changed by now, though, from
Well,
what you
no,
showed them,
no,
right?
but I mean, the original one, but it's extremely similar. I have it on my cell phone from the first time it was submitted, and that the thing was canceled. So it's what I showed them is what you're seeing here. I've lived in 3 North Frontenac for 65 years, so I have a pretty good history of my lot and the lot next door. It was never used as a drive-through, so I commend Jay on his work with Mr. Balinson to alleviate the back driveway. The reason I took the pictures is where you have in the middle of the driveway the yellow posts and the fence, you have a maximum of 10 feet. So it's, you know, it's extremely narrow. What most people don't know is before the burger joint was built, why the thing was vacant for many, many years, I was taking care of that back alleyway. I would sleep up the glass, pull out the weeds, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, there was a fairly large sinkhole that occurred pretty much, if you look at the pictures, right before those 2 yellow stanchions. And it was pretty severe, I would say, if I remember correctly. It was probably about 6 to 8 feet deep. It was almost the entire width of the back alleyway. They filled it in, and I saw them doing it because I was there when they were doing it. They just came with a truck and they dumped in some, wheelbarrowed in some pebbles, you know, little pebbles you could buy at things, gravel, little teeny pebbles. But I never saw it compacted. And you can ask Bud, anytime a car tried to drive through there, it was stuck in that sinkhole, and he would have to tow them out. You know, and that happened, you know, on a regular basis, anybody who tried to cut through. I wasn't there when they tarred it over, but if they did not compact that sinkhole, I would assume it would collapse again, causing a tragedy. So I don't know if that was done or not, but I just wanted to point that out, that that could be something that could occur, because, I mean, you're talking, it was at least 6 feet, 7 feet, 8 feet wide. It was at least 6 to 8 feet deep. The whole thing caved in completely. So I don't know if anybody's aware.
When was this?
Well, the pebbles were there until just the last couple of years when they paved it over. It was, I don't know if they did anything in that sink.
When was the last time there was a sinkhole there?
Well, it was there the whole time until it was paved over and the burger joint was built. The sinkhole must have been there for, I don't know, maybe Bud knows better, 10 years? I don't know. I mean, for as long as when Sunbank went down and it was vacant and the ground collapsed, they filled it in with the gravel, and the gravel was just sitting there.
And you had to, they repeatedly filled it in with gravel?
That I don't know. But it was filled with a little, you know, kind of
Right.
gravel. But anytime a car tried to go through the alleyway, it got stuck, it couldn't get past, and he had to tow it out. So I just wanted to, you know, to be aware of that. I have some unique problems. Originally, when the bank was there and the gas station was there, there was an apron between the back alleyway driveway and my driveway. Several years ago, I don't know when, well, let me back up a sec. Because the street is so narrow and so crowded, if anybody parked in front of my house, oh, I know what I was going to say. They also went and redid, because of flooding, I don't know how many years ago, it was several years ago, they redid the curbing along the whole side. You know, if you're turning in, if my side would be the right side of Frontenac Avenue. They did it incorrectly. They made the curbing too high. So when you tried to get out of your car, you could not open your car. And then eventually the city came back, and if you look at my house, you'll see that the thing is sloped way down so you can open up a car door to actually get out of your car. In the interim, they made my driveway too narrow. The city of Margate, yeah. They made my driveway too narrow. It's probably about 2 feet too narrow. What happened is I fought with the city for several years to take out that apron separating my driveway from the back alleyway, because it was literally impossible to make the turn into my driveway because you would hit the thing and, damage your car. So finally, the city relented and took that apron out. So if you actually go there, you'll see that it's one continuous driveway now from the alleyway to my driveway, which, thank God. You'll also notice, if you even look at the picture, I got tired of fixing the fence. I can't tell you how many times it was hit. The last time it was hit, there's a police report. There was black car parts laying in my driveway. I filed a police report. They were there. Nothing really ever happened, but I'm the one that's always been fixing the fence. But I left the first section out of the fence because my driveway is only 8 feet wide, and I can't get a car up past my house. So I only basically have one spot for a car before you hit the house. It's very difficult to turn into my driveway. So if they close in that curbing at all, I won't be able to use my driveway. I'll lose my space because it's just too narrow to get in and out. I mean, they could probably close the driveway halfway.
We'll make sure there's plenty of room.
But yeah, they can't close it in all the way. When Collective Federal was there, when Lou Tate had the gas station, it was used as pretty much an oil pit, used tires, rusted parts. It was never, there was no access back there at all. It was, pretty much garbage strewn. When Collective Federal came, they cleaned it up. They put 3 spaces back there. They tried to use it for parking back there, but they pretty much abandoned that because it was just too much aggravation. If you had, to move a car in, move a car out, move a car in and out, it was too narrow, so they stopped using it. When Sun Bank bought it out from Collective, or Bank America, because they bought Collective, they didn't even attempt to try to use it as any kind of drive-through or back because of the narrow. They put a dumpster there, and that was basically all that was ever there. And then, like I said, it sat vacant till then. So, my concern is the fence has been hit on a regular basis. So I hope to God, whatever happens here, that no drive-through is allowed any which way whatsoever. Because it's going to be hit again.
Can I ask you one question?
Yes.
The fence is 13 feet off the building. They
My,
own 14 feet off the back of the building.
well, the fence has been there since I've been born. It's been in the same place.
I didn't do the planning there. I'm just saying it's 13 feet off and it's supposed to be 14.
Well, actually,
If they move that fence 14 feet,
1 foot towards yours.
you lose your driveway.
I'll lose my driveway too.
It's-
Yeah, so, I mean, I probably won't even be able to use my one spot that I have now.
Yeah.
The second thing that happened, Bud mentioned the chain. As soon as they put what happened even before the burger joint was opened, because I'm right there next to Castles and Starbucks and whatnot, people fairly constantly use my driveway or block my driveway to run in and run out what they think is a short period of time. Even when they would pull up, if they pulled up, even where my apron ended and the driveway started, I could then not make the turn. So again, I went to the police department and they came out, they looked at it and they said, "You're right, we made a mistake. We made your entrance too narrow." And they painted white lines, no parking signs in front of my driveway and past my driveway opening, so, cars would give me a little bit more access. They still don't, but, the lines are there. When he put the chain up, when it was first bought, what happened is cars immediately started parking there. And again, I couldn't use my driveway, so they took the chain down. The city came out again and they painted no parking in front of the alleyway apron to butt up next to mine. So if you go out there now, you'll see, the white no parking, because, that's how tight it is. So the police department, as soon as they saw it, they immediately said, yeah, you can't park here, you can't park here, and they painted those lines. I wish Mr. Pastore well, but when he originally bought the place, one of the conversations I had with him is he didn't want any additional outdoor seating. He specifically said to me, I just want them to take their food and go. I don't want them hanging around. I'm here, let them take the food and go somewhere else. So, I'm not against outdoor seating. What I'm against is everybody's talking about, oh, it's only one space here or there. I'm pretty bad at math, so help me out with this. If you have 45 additional seats, let's assume you have 3 people to a car. That's 15 cars. At least my math says 3 times 15 is 45.
You're talking logic here, and we're talking government regulations. The 10 spaces or 9 spaces is what regulations allow,
Okay.
so.
Well, let's just talk logic for a second. Across from the liquor store, there's also an apartment building with 8 apartments. They have no parking at all. I've already talked to some of those people because they would use my driveway, they would use the front, and, I'd say, come on. They're relatively nice, but they're hunting for parking spaces. You have the male people that park there, you have the business people park there. So you're gonna pick up maybe 3 spaces, in my opinion, if you close everything in. But you still, if you have 2 people per car, it's more cars. That's a lot of cars if it's successful. I don't know where these cars are gonna go. Even without traffic, our driveways around the block, most of the driveways are very difficult to get into just to begin with. So any additional parking is putting extreme stress on 19 homes. So what Amy said is what I agree with. I don't wish him not well. He has a 2-bedroom, bathroom apartment up above. Maybe he can redo that a little bit. Have waitresses run food up and down, or refigure, something else. But I personally don't think there's room for any more parking on our cul-de-sac, and especially straight through the back.
Mr. Cooperman, when you bought your house, what was in that lot there when you bought
It
your
was
house?
from the earliest time I can remember.
Gas station?
Yeah, Lou Tate owned the gas station.
So it was a gas station when you bought your
Yeah,
house?
and I was cleaning up
right
the
next-
oil. The oil used to leak onto my backyard from his oil pit.
And you still bought the house?
I didn't buy it, my parents bought it, but I had to take care of it. Now I know why there was a wood fence there, because it kept getting hit, and he didn't really take care of it, and I was the one that kept putting it up.
So
When
you've
some-
gone through a gas station and a
Yeah,
bank,
I went,
and now...
well, we applauded. We were so happy when the bank went in there because it was clean, it was quiet, it was closed at night. They had enough parking. It was godsend. Then when Sun Bank
So
took it over,
You lived
it was
next to commercial for 50 years?
65 years.
65 years
I've been there for
next to commercial.
65 years, yeah, so.
And on that street, it's always been pretty busy, hasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's busier all the time. Obviously, there's more and more.
Yeah, the city is getting more and more crowded
yeah,
every summer. with the
But
amount of-
it's even more and more of an issue now because of the more businesses.
Yeah.
When I was a little kid and there was the 5 and 10 across the thing, that was one guy. When, they had the bakery down there and I'd wake up at the corner smelling the thing and they'd give me a free cookie as a little kid. It was an old lady that walked to work. It wasn't people that had to drive and park. So through the years, it's just more and more cars. I have a 3-car family. I have room for 1 car, so sometimes I got to drive around like a maniac trying to find the spaces to park myself. It's a nightmare. It comes with the territory, but, I just think any additional asking for parking at all is pretty much, in my opinion, this corner is the busiest intersection in Margate. I would say the second busiest one is here by Wawa, and I think the city did a good thing by blocking the street off, making it double
but that's impossible to do at Frontenac. Frontenac is a small, narrow street to begin with, and it's overcrowded without any additional growth, so I personally want the cars to stay going through the front where they are now. I don't want any cars going through the back. I'm tired of fixing the fence. I'm tired of the safety issue. And you've got a possible problem with a sinkhole back there that nobody knows about.
All right. Thank you. Next.
Hi, my name is Mitchell Chi.
Can you spell that,
Address?
please, last name?
9 North Franklin.
How do you spell your last name?
Chi, C-H-I.
And do you swear a firm testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
What was your address again?
9 North Franklin. I am
Okay.
across the street from
Okay.
Mr. Weintraub. Couple things, just as a comment, and you'll understand the context of this in a moment. I've been involved in small business for 30 years. I was the president of the Chamber of Commerce in Santa Fe, New Mexico. We launched the first successful Main Street. So if anybody's pro small business, I think this is a wonderful project, right? Tax base, people, eyesore, gone. I'm a year-round tenant. So I have no dog in I really have no dog in this fight at all. I do have a proxy, which I'll submit, from the landlord, owner of the property.
Same objection as he's in support of the project.
You state your own objection.
You can, as a tenant, you can say whatever you want.
Great.
Your landlord could have come.
So I've been a tenant in Margate for 10 years, and I'd like to be a tenant for the next 10. At our stage in life, we don't buy real estate anymore, but we love it down here. We are a significant contributor to the economy in this city. You can ask Cookie and so on and so forth. We're here year-round. We're not summer tenants. We're actually questioning whether we're going to renew this year and possibly move out of the area. It's, of course, compounded by the Dune project, but let's leave that aside. All right? The traffic, the speeding, the congestion, I have a 2-year-old, has made the street, at this point, a real safety hazard. And that's my biggest concern here. I support the removal of the driveway, the drive behind. I think that's a workable plan. I just wanted to come up and have the opportunity to address everybody. And, you know, for me to move out of the area in a shore town that we have adopted to love as a tenant is really a loss for my family, but also of the economy. And I'm passionate about this town. I like this town. To us, it's nirvana. And I'm all for the design. I think there's some very good points that are beyond the scope of today. Business viability, do we approve the whole thing? Fact of the matter is the business is open. Fact of the matter is it's thriving. We could debate that all night, but we have a gentleman willing to put an investment in a business that will incrementally, if we look at their pro formas, increase the enjoyment, the tax base, and help alleviate the traffic. So that's the only statement I wanted to make. I do notice a lot of accidents already on the corner of Frontenac and Ventnor. There was one towards the end of the summer. A woman got mowed down and hit in the crosswalk. So, you know, I leave it to the council here to make a prudent, right
I'm confused. Do you support the project as they're amending it, or are you against the project?
As they amend it, yes.
You are for the project as they amend
If
it?
they remove the drive-through behind there, I think it's a win-win situation. Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
I know I already spoke, but
Well,
I'll just
Maybe we should get everyone, if she wants to speak again,
Could you hang on, please? If
let's just
anyone
make
else-
sure there's no one else first, and then.
Just wait. If it's anyone else, then you can speak again. Anyone else like to speak? Please come forward.
Good evening. My name's Larry Nicolo. I live at 6 North Franklin, 2 houses from the Burger Bar.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the whole truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And it's Larry.
Nicolo, Nicolo.
Thank you.
I have to agree with Jay in reference to closing that back alleyway. That back alleyway is a disaster waiting to happen. If people were to try to drive back there, I couldn't tell you what would take place because, as you know, and I could attest to my wife, if my wife had to drive back there, look out. The bollards would be down, the fence would be down, everything would be down, and my car would be destroyed. So, now, Ron has got another problem, and unfortunately, I agree with Ron too. He's got a major problem back there because of the proximity to the driveway, from the driveway to the Burger Bar.
Who's Ron? Got it.
Yeah. But as far as the drawing goes, it's 1,000% improvement. I think it would work. Whether or not there's enough parking for everybody, there's never going to be enough parking. Is Bud going to be happy? I don't know. At this point, I don't know who's going to be happy. But I think it's a better scenario than what was originally planned. So with that, thank you.
Do you think it's better than what's there now?
I'm sorry?
Do you think it's better than what's there now?
Oh, absolutely. 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 Just getting rid of that driveway. I'm telling you.
Well, they don't need the driveway now. They drive through the front.
But it's everybody that uses that driveway it's crazy. You know, so if you use the one, if you have, I'm assuming Franklin Avenue curb cut would be bigger.
Wait, I'm confused. Right now, they drive in the front of the building and out the front of the building. Why would anybody use that back driveway now?
Well, the deliveries, that's where their deliveries come from, their trash. You know, that's my only question is how do they do with the trash removal after the driveway's cut off? Now you have
That's where the
I'm
trash
assuming you're
comes
gonna have
from
a double cut, curb cut in order to allow in and out traffic. So now when you get deliveries in there, I'm assuming the deliveries would be off hour, and I'm assuming the trash delivery or pickup would be off hour, because there's no way in the world it's gonna work during the course of a day. But in reference to everything I just said, I agree with the plan, the way it's designed. I think it's gonna work, and I hope it's gonna work.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Trash is picked up and the building is closed, so there's not an issue with the conflict of the parking spaces. Yes.
But wait, if you're gonna speak again, she gets to speak first. But we have to wait till see if anyone else is there anyone else that likes to speak? I wanna know if anyone else needs to speak. Shush. Bud, wait. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? All right, Bud, you can go.
All right. Their deliveries and their trash pickup all coming from Franklin Avenue anyway. They usually come in through my lot to get in there. You know, they don't go through that back alleyway. Hardly anyone, I doubt if anyone even uses it now. Yeah, and the sinkhole in the back, I think they removed a waste oil, fuel tank for the heating oil, and they just filled in with pea stones and people were getting stuck. But you hardly see anyone use that back alley. And it is too small for drive-through. But the only thing my concern still is the access, limited access for that one little spot to get in and out. And I know they're going to go on that one-way street, and they're going to cut through my lot. Because as soon as they opened, like I said before, when they had a chain, the city had to make them take that chain down. So and then it alleviated all that, you know. But that's my opinion. You know, it's going to happen again. Because people today, they're not going to obey the law and go around the block. You know how most of the people in the summer and they drive and the kids, they don't care. They're going to go on that one-way street or cut right through my lot, and that's what's going to happen. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I apologize for this, shush.
That's okay, I understand, no problem. First, one issue I have is to get in and out of this restaurant, I see only one doorway. That's the same side of the building where all the cars are coming in and out. The lot is not that big. There's not a lot of walk-around space. So that's another safety issue. And have you seen the lot itself? Because like I said, cars are parking here, they're backing up, cars are pulling in, cars are pulling out, people are walking. I just don't see how that can work. And the driveway in the back of the building, which maybe cars can go through, I know it's very narrow. I don't know if it's practical, but if they lower the fence to 4 feet, then people will be able to see better what cars are coming. They're worried about kids.
It's only 6 feet where my house is. I wish it was 10 feet.
Well, I don't know, but they're worried about the fence being a safety issue.
Just use the hand mic, don't worry about it.
That's better, okay. Also, if there's only one door getting into that restaurant, where's the fire exit? I mean, you have to have at least 2, 3 exits for a property.
That's the building department.
Okay, but where are they putting it? I don't know.
Well, you can ask the building department.
Okay. Another issue is that whole horseshoe area, when it rains, even more often than some other blocks, it floods. So anybody who's already parked back there somewhere has to move their car, find somewhere else to park. And cars that are going to go around the block now, what are they going to do when the street is flooded? If the business is in operation and they want cars to drive around, they're going to go through a flood and come up and try to park in that lot. So that flooding is an issue. And also, some people who own businesses in the area who may have attended tonight and voiced their objections because they're losing parking spaces, there's a big fundraising event in Margate tonight, so they're not here. And what else is there? Okay, that's about it right now.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, public portion is closed.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
This goes back to what you said, but I just didn't understand. One of the things that I think could alleviate some of the parking and make everybody happy, the only danger I see is, on Ventnor Avenue is, when the buses come out, they swing wide and maybe you couldn't have a parking space or two on the very corner of Franklin and Ventnor because, the buses have to get around. But if you can get rid of the sidewalk or some of the sidewalk or some of the curbing or make some of the parking, I think you said something about the county or something, or it's not part of us, or,
If you put a curb cut on Ventnor Avenue, it's an
Can't
county.
we have cars being able to park on Ventnor Avenue there? Not at the very corner by Bud Station, because you got to get the buses to get through, pulling out, and, he's got to breathe, but not all the time.
That's because nobody's parked there.
What?
You-
Parking's permitted on Ventnor Avenue right there.
On the front?
Yeah.
Because I don't see that,
The whole block is parking, isn't it? Or
It
is
may be 2 hours. I think that's the only, or not at all. It's just full-time.
Someone said there was a bus stop there. There's not a bus
Oh,
stop.
no, not a bus, but the buses have to pull out and go around. All right, I thought the.
All right, thank you.
on there.
Nothing further, Mr. Patterson. I'm not going to bog down.
Okay. Anything else from the board?
Yeah, Chris, I just have something just to throw up in the air. This is nothing. If you put the addition to the right of the building and close down that back alley and you had a drive-through in the front, you'd end up with more parking across the front.
I'm trying to get rid of having a car drive through a commercial business from street to street.
Oh, okay.
No other business has that. It's only there because this was a gas station or a bank.
Right.
If this building comes down, there's not gonna be a curb cut on each street. There's gonna be one curb cut and a parking field.
Yes.
It's gonna be exactly what we're talking about right now. I don't mean to talk fast, but I'm just.
Yeah, no, I mean, the
I've
back
always
alley
been-
would be closed.
I understand. I understand, but
The addition would be there, not there, and they drive through. We'd have our plan across the front.
it's taken us 5 years to get this plan figured out.
I'm trying to get it passed for you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Leave it as amended. Thank you. I mean, from what I heard tonight, every person who spoke was in favor of close that back alley, maybe the one. I just think that's, if anything, that's what makes sense, and it doesn't seem but the additional seats really creates much of a problem, from what I understand from you.
Just don't block my driveway.
We'll make that a condition. Any other questions from the board? Leo?
There's two reports, Chris. There's Rogers, you're okay with everything in that?
John, did you look at the engineer's report?
We reviewed them and everything was fine.
And there's you're requesting all those waivers that
I will
are...
get you a letter as to waivers tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Roger, did you point out waivers?
Yes,
And the answer is yes, Leo, I'm sorry.
but now you need an additional waiver, and that's to a traffic impact statement.
I would ask for that, and I mean, John can address that. Traffic impact statement traditionally is not for what we're talking about here. I mean, that's usually a trip generation function as to additional trips in the intersection. I don't
I
know
disagree with that, because you're sending 100% of the vehicles through a neighborhood. And I think traffic impact statement will justify
I understand.
and point out other issues.
I would ask for the waiver because it's not going to it doesn't change anything. I mean, like I said, the fact that there are curb cuts on both sides of this block are because it was a bank. Okay? In
Understood.
order, if this building comes down, this site gets developed with one curb cut, parking underneath, I'm sorry, John, parking underneath, no side yard setback on Franklin, no side yard setback on Frontenac, no front yard setback, and a 5-foot rear yard setback. That's how this site can be developed. And from a safety standpoint and a density standpoint, this is a far better plan than forcing this building into obsolescence. This is somebody spending some money trying to make this work. Trying to make it work.
If this doesn't work, we come back again.
Not much else you can do. I mean, look, nobody's happy with how this building was left. Nobody's happy about it. But you got somebody who's spending money trying to make it work, trying. Don't penalize the guy for that.
No, we're on board with that.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm gonna go to that.
We worked with Dr. Pastore last year to keep him open when he tried to shut everything down against the site plan that was approved.
Mr. McLaren, I was involved in that, and it was appreciated, it's still appreciated. The fact that you guys are considering this, I hope affirmatively I hope another step forward, maybe stop the bleeding, make it work. Thank you.
Have they tried to do anything with the top part of the building at all?
I can't have you speaking from a seat, Mr. Kupperman. You need to speak into a
The
microphone.
public portion is closed, but you've had 2 times to speak.
Ready for me or any other discussion? Okay. We need a motion for amended preliminary and final site plan approval of the checklist waivers identified in the city engineer's report dated September 29, 2017. He enumerates 16 of them, and the following conditions will apply when closing off the curb cut closest to 3 North Frontenac Avenue. The applicant will leave enough space for that homeowner to access his driveway. And
That would be on his property, right?
It has to be before my property.
Well, then we'll work with Mr. Cooperman to make sure that works. It's not a problem.
I do want to point out that the engineering report and my report are not based on the amended plans.
okay, are you just pointing that out, or are you suggesting additional waivers may be required?
I'm just pointing that out, that
Okay.
the engineer has not seen that plan.
Thank you.
Shall I continue the motion, Chris?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Let me start that over. We need a motion for preliminary and final amended site plan approval. The checklist or the waiver set forth in the city engineer's report dated September 9th, 2017. Like I said, there's 16 of them. The conditions would be which I already enumerated with respect to Mr. Cooperman's property on 3 North Frontenac, and then all other conditions in Mr. McLaren's report and the city engineer's report, to the extent they're not modified herein or affected by the change in the plans.
Leo, the standard of proof with respect to a site plan changes when the variances are removed in terms of what the statute says in terms of the board's function. Would it be appropriate to remind the board of that in light of the fact the variance was withdrawn?
Correct. I mean, this isn't a variance standard. It's,
Amended site plan.
it's amended preliminary and final site plan approval. Comes down to whether he meets all the ordinance requirements and statutory requirements for amended site plan approval. And the waivers, the standard is whether they're, reasonable and justified. So that there's no balancing, like we do with the variances, hardship, advancing the purpose of the zoning. None of that stuff really comes into play.
Thank you.
Leo,
Sure. Yes.
we're voting on a site plan that, as Roger said, we really haven't seen it.
Well, they've presented a site plan tonight where they've now amended it during the course of the hearing. And Chris, if you want to chime in, there's minor changes to a site plan during the course of the hearing, in my opinion, are acceptable. They're closing off entrances and they're proposing, a different circulation pattern.
I thought based on the board's familiarity with the site and what was proposed, it's something that easily can be seen and imagined how it will work. It's not.
That's the word, imagine, that's what we're doing, we're imagining.
Clem, I understand where you're coming from, but I don't believe that you don't know how this will work if we close off that back alley, as all the neighbors have suggested should happen. That's all that's being proposed. Well, it is really.
I may imagine it different than all the rest of them.
Right.
Well, then if you're not comfortable voting on it, I understand which direction you're gonna go.
Look, I mean, Mr. Balanson put forth an application. He's obviously, it's his decision whether he wants to proceed with the vote, in which, we've already made a motion. And the board can vote how they want to on it.
Look, if the board wants to tell me they're not comfortable voting on it, that's something different.
Right, I mean, and that's if there's some discussion that needs to happen on that. Now, the alternative is you come back in a month with the site plan we've just discussed for the last 2 hours. And
Plan, if you're comfortable with that.
it's, it's actually shown on the plan as opposed to envisioning a curb cut off. I mean,
No, there's no indication the board's unhappy with that, so we should proceed.
And it's moving the trash receptacle to that alleyway?
Randy, I need it on the record,
Yes,
please.
right.
Moving the trash to the alleyway, that's what I said.
Behind the building.
Yeah, and adding a parking space.
Yes.
Is this a yes and a no vote, since it's essentially not a,
sure, it's a site plan, amended preliminary and final site plan approval with the waiver set forth in the city engineer's report. There's just no variances involved.
Stephanie, you're not precluded putting your thoughts on the record. There's nothing that stops you from doing it.
Can I just ask a question, please?
Would you
No.
just
No,
sit?
no.
Can we take a break and talk with Leo for a second?
Yeah, I need a break, a 5-minute break, close the thing.
Don't do that.
All right, we're back in session.
As well.
Please take your seats.
Okay.
Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, in light of the fact that the plan changed kind of at the last minute after meeting with the neighbors, I think it's only fair that the board have the benefit of seeing the revised plan before voting on it. In light of the fact that the meeting is on the 14th, I'll have a revised plan to Madam Secretary by Monday, so it can be disseminated to the board members, and then we can resume.
So we have room for them on the 14th of December?
Yes.
I don't intend to present any testimony except for Mr. Barnhart to show you the changes, and that's it. I'm going to rely upon the record that's been created this evening.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
yeah, we're the only ones that heard the case. so this
The
is your-
absent members,
Right.
Correct.
the absent members,
Yes.
Right, in
In
the
light of the fact the variance is removed, the traditional site plan, it doesn't require notice, so I'm not concerned about that aspect of it either.
But everyone here from the neighborhood can hear that it would be postponed until the 14th of December when we can see the actual plans.
yeah, right, and
Yes, yes, they will be in the secretary's office on Monday and available for anyone.
right, and whether notice is required or not, I'm going to make the formal announcement tonight that this matter is going to be carried to December 14th, 6:30 PM in this room. This is your notice of that. The applicant will not be providing additional notice or publication in the newspaper. And the plans will be on file with City Hall. Yes.
I'll let the engineer know that plans are expected.
I will send one to his office directly.
Okay.
If you'd like.
And any board member who intends to participate who's not here tonight would have to come in and certify that they listened to the tape.
Oh, they can participate if
They listen to the tape and certify it, and
Except for Tom Collins.
whether your input matters, I'm not quite sure. I don't,
Doesn't matter.
don't worry about it.
Yes, yes. As to the next matter, the Saganos management matter, Mr. McLaren and I had a conversation today, and he could tell you what some of the recommendations are and what we've agreed to do as to going forward with the Saganos application.
I'm sorry, would you say that again?
The Saganos application
Yes?
is going to be carried as well, but to January is fine, Johanna. We're going to see if there aren't some alternatives we can come up with that might be a little bit more aesthetically pleasing than what is currently proposed. We're going to try.
And did
Chris, you will re-notify for the January case?
Only if you make-
to
oh, well-
change of plans?
There is no variance relief required. There is no discretionary relief required. It's not even an application for development. Because
Okay.
it's not on property that's owned by the applicant, and there's no discretionary relief. For that reason, I would ask that an announcement be made. I'm comfortable not noticing.
Quiet, quiet.
I'd-
Not you, Chris.
Thank you. I'd ask that an announcement be made that it's being carried to January, but I'm comfortable not noticing under the statute.
Okay, you noticed for the initial application?
I did.
Okay, I'll make the announcement, and then, at least you'll be covered there, and then we'll deal with it between now and January. What's the January date?
26 or something?
January again.
It's not the third Thursday, it's the last Thursday. Always has been.
Even if
That'd be the 25th.
The 25th of January.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you guys very much.
Okay, so, Saganos Realty application,
If anybody has any ideas how to make that nicer, let me know.
okay, so just for the record, if anyone's here for the Saganos Realty matter, that's,
Thanks for leaving me hanging.
8001 to 8011 Ventnor Avenue, Block 207.02, Lot 47. That's going to be adjourned to January 25th, 6:30 PM in this room. Applicant will not be required to renotice or re-advertise.
How come I could be addressed to me when the meeting began?
Thank you very much.
I didn't know about it, or we probably would have put it first. And I don't think the chairman knew about it. We have a quick public portion. You can say whatever you want, but if it's on that application, I'd ask, it's going to be on January 25th.
I just found out about this as he said it, so otherwise I would have announced it at the beginning of the meeting. We're not at public portion yet.
Okay.
Chris, on that, I think you should get a
It's coming right up.
temporary 90-day license.
Thank you very much. A recommendation would be fantastic.
Okay.
I'd ask the board, I am currently operating under a license agreement from the governing body. If the board would recommend that that be extended until the board takes action on the application, I could bring that back to the governing body just so nobody's out of compliance with what the city has permitted at this point.
Well, was that our decision or the city's decision to begin with?
It was the city's decision to begin with, but the city then said, you come here to finalize it. So before I finalize it, so there's going to be a gap.
That's all.
From what the time they gave you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I recommend that.
Okay, well, then I'd like a voice vote. Do we need a motion for that?
Just a voice vote?
Just a voice vote's fine.
A voice vote that we recommend to the city fathers that their temporary license to continue what they're doing be extended until we act on it in January. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Thank you all very much. Getting to that fundraiser in Margate.
Where is it? Would you, I'll call you when you, please, I'll call you. Where?
Resorts, right?
All right, before other business, we now have public participation. Please come up and state your name, address, and be sworn in.
My name is David Goodleman. I live at 8 North Gladstone Avenue, and
Now be sworn in.
David Goodelman, how do you spell that?
Goodelman.
Do we swear everyone in during the public portion, Joanna? You're right. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
No. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, please speak freely now.
Okay. I have a problem with the trash cans being there. I mean, isn't anybody going to do anything about it? I mean, I thought it was going to be taken care of tonight.
Well, so did I.
So,
But
but
the
you granted them like a corn
We didn't. Well, we don't have that power.
I thought what'd you just vote on?
We just voted on a recommendation to the city commission. The city commission has that power.
Okay.
They gave them time until tonight, and since we didn't hear it tonight, we're asking them to extend that until the January meeting.
And the next commission meeting will be held on the 7th of December.
So
If you
that's
wish to
that's
speak-
where you need to raise objections to extensions or whatever. We didn't just extend it. We don't have that power.
Okay, now this is going to be constructed on the sidewalk.
It's not even approved yet.
We don't
Right.
know what they're doing.
They're coming before the board.
Yeah.
You have the right to file a
Yeah,
complaint with the code
Chris is
enforcement.
Okay.
talkable.
Thank you.
Talkable.
Roger, are you guys talking about the waterfront special district?
No.
Yes.
Oh, we are?
Yes,
Oh.
new business.
Oh, okay.
I was going to tell you to hang out, Chris. That's you.
What? Yeah, go.
Call me in there tomorrow, whatever. I'm around.
Good night.
They could actually, and we've heard kid rages, but they could take a 20 by 4 foot section out of that shore and have it in the building.
That's gonna be an issue.
What's this? I don't understand. Did the firemen say they couldn't put it behind the building? I don't know. That's what I need to know. Yes, I walked behind the building. Where was all that traffic?
Lucy go?
Do I get some?
Lucy.
Okay, Roger?
Okay. New business.
They gotta figure something. I guess no one else.
It has come to light during the master plan reexamination that we may have overlooked a little minor detail,
Oh,
particularly
wait,
along.
you know what, Rod, he's right. Was there anyone else that had anything to bring before the board? You just staying out of the cold weather out there? Okay, go ahead, Roger.
Public's
Do we need to close public?
Yeah,
portion?
public participation is closed.
Aye. It's come to light during the master plan reexamination that the waterfront special district along Amherst Avenue, apparently back in the mid-90s, the businesses, the dividing line for the zone was in the water, meaning those businesses that are on the water side of the bulkhead were compliant. Somehow that line got moved, And now technically, those businesses that are over the bulkhead, over the water, are not compliant.
Wait, you explain that again.
Right. The old line used to be out into the water, encompassing the existing businesses like Captain Andy's.
Right.
Now that line has been moved somewhere between 2004 and 1995. So it runs along parallel, coincidental with the bulkhead.
It was when the waterfront special district was created, which I think was in 04.
Right. It used to be Zone M6. If you look at the last page, right, you can see my notes where that line included those businesses over the water. The idea, yeah, that's the old zoning line. And
Highland Rule did an overlay, and just drew it consistent with bulkhead.
Right.
Didn't follow what the M6 was out in the water.
But it's funny how,
Was there any
In the old-
discussion, it just happened? Does that,
It was not picked up.
I think it was overlooked.
You say it was a drafting on it?
It was when they did the overlay, they just went, which what I think they thought was where the zoning district boundary went, was the end of the upland.
Chris, was it a licensed New Jersey architect that did this?
It,
No.
they came from New Brunswick, whatever they do in New Brunswick, I'm not sure. They got a lot of money for it, though.
Yes, they did.
I think they just took the line to the end of the upland, and didn't think there was anything planned out in the water that functioned.
And it was never discussed at the time, this just happened.
It was a zoning map change that was attached to the back of the zoning ordinance, and that's what happened.
So how does that affect us today?
Those businesses that are over the water are non-compliant for uses, even though they've been existing. So it's typically against the master plan to out-zone businesses that are in place.
Is your recommendation that this be corrected?
It is my recommendation that this be corrected, and with the caveat that we don't have control over, is any development over the water is regulated by DEP, so there's not going to be any new businesses. We're not going to be filling in water. I mean, the existing business, this will legalize the existing businesses that were legal before and were taken out inadvertently.
And allow within within the existing buildings or something that's approved by DEP, uses that are permitted in the WSD district.
Got it. How do we fix this?
We recommend that a governing body, this amendment be taken, we take care of this, we change that line, and we approve the final product.
Can we do that tonight?
We can recommend that a governing body, yes.
Well, how would we word this?
It's not on the agenda, so we need to get it back on the agenda for the next meeting to make it legal.
So you're not creating pre-existing non-conforming uses, is that?
You're correcting. You're correcting.
You're correcting what is now would be technically considered a.
They were legal back in 1995 or whenever, and that line was moved, making them illegal.
Right.
And nobody picked up on it.
It put them in the riparian zone, which was out the zone in the bay.
Right.
Yeah, I just don't think they thought about it. They put the line at the bulkhead because riparian, typically everybody thinks of water. And then you've got the WSD.
So we can't do this tonight? We can't make the recommendation?
Definitely make the recommendation.
What has to be advertised?
Well, it's not, nobody had a, well, yeah, we can make a recommendation.
No, we're recommending to them, but we're
Yes.
just making a recommendation. Okay. Can you word that recommendation?
Sure. We just need a recommendation to the city commissioners that the zone line for the.
To return the previous zone line to where it was before, to legalize the existing properties.
Okay, can you write that up when we do that?
Yeah.
So do I hear a motion for what they just said?
I'll make a motion for what they just said.
A second, okay. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? None. Motion passes. Can you word that up and I'll sign it or whatever? Do I need to sign it or you?
tired.
We probably just need a, Roger, what do we just need a memo to the city commissioners?
Yes.
You want me to do that? Or, we'll talk about it, whatever.
Yeah.
You tell me to
Anything else?
redesign my buildings. It's like, it ain't my money.
Oh,
It ain't my money.
I told Chris that Craig's office is on the other side of the wall. 75 feet. Craig, how many feet is Godshall's property? The opposite side.
We're still on record.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, okay, I'll talk about that. I'm sorry, that was an after. On the record, did you tell me that Dave resigned?
Yes.
Dave resigned. He's been sick for a long time. I have
Due
no
to
idea.
health reasons.
Right, due to health reasons. I have no idea what's going on or whatever, but I think we.
It's up to the mayor to appoint someone for a
Well,
replacement.
that's not my point. My point is I would like to get a card together from all of us or something of our get well or whatever. And I'm going to put Ms. Gubernaldi in charge of that. Any objections to that?
No objections.
Can we, all in favor?
I agree.
Aye, okay. All opposed? To wish him well or whatever, I'd like to stop over and see him, but I really have no idea what his condition is, but he hasn't been here for a long time. Have you talked to him? Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's okay, just
I didn't know that.
Canada.
It's just been a long time, so.
hip
Okay,
balls.
I have no other business. Anyone, other new business, or any other business? Does anybody want to make a motion to stay another 10 minutes? Adjourn? Make that motion, please.
I make a motion to adjourn this meeting. I second that.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? No.
Keep the Saganas plan.
Keep it.
Craig, come
We'll be stacking the other stuff up.
We're stacking.